I think the accident happened predominantly because I started my first startup when I was in first year of engineering. But in organic, I feel you should start with the easiest thing to do. If you ask me, is personal branding of founders and the founding team. Do things that you do 80% of the times, but only has 20% of it. So learn that 20% only.
Hi everyone. Before we begin, I would like to share that this podcast is brought to you by Prime Venture Partners, an early stage VC fund led by Amir Somani, Shripati Acharya, and Sanjay Swami. Prime is often the first institutional investor in category defining tech startups in fintech, SaaS, healthcare, and education, such as MyGate, Quizzes, Planet Spark, Bolt, and Clip. To know more about Prime, visit primevp.in.
Hi, this is Siddharth Aluwalia. Welcome to 100x Entrepreneur Podcast. I have today with me Vaibhav Sisinty, founder of Growth School. Very excited to have Vaibhav today on the podcast. He's one of the top growth minds in our country today, having guided more than 200,000 students through Growth School on their journey of learning growth marketing, the growth mindset on how to build companies, how to grow companies, right? So Vaibhav previously has been one of the key members of the team that helped Uber, and he was there for Uber for more than 4 years. And then he started dabbling, helping startups, and now he has productized his skill. So Vaibhav, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks, man. What a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the really nice intro. We've crossed 300,000 now in terms of number of students. And it's not just me, like the bunch of mentors who have also contributed to it. I'm not the only teacher, hence the startup, or else I would have been a personal brand now. But yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Got it. Well, would love to learn your journey, and how did you get started into growth, right? Helping companies on their growth journeys.
Frankly, I'm an accidental marketer. I don't come with any background of marketing or growth of any sort. When people go to engineering, जब लोग engineering जाते हैं, usually क्या होता है यार, वो लोग civil engineering करते हैं, mechanical engineering करते हैं, eventually they get into IT. I did computer science engineering, but I found my love elsewhere. I think the accident happened predominantly because I started my first startup when I was in first year of engineering. It was called Discovering Android, where I learned SEO and website building and all that stuff by myself to build it. Second year of engineering, I started Crazy Heads, which was also involved into Facebook ads and Google ads and SEO optimization, branding and all that. So that led me to pick up all these skills of marketing and growth, to be very frank. And then we were also doing some offline marketing for a few brands, right? Strategizing ATL, BTL, all that stuff, right? That's how I dabbled into this and kind of moved away from tech. Usually I used to write code also in college. I enjoyed it. I built a bunch of websites, wrote PHP and stuff, but eventually found my love here because I really enjoyed doing this. But if you would have asked me when I was still in my engineering or getting out of engineering, when I was running Crazy Heads, which was my second startup, ki kaun ho tum? I don't know who I was. I would have never called myself a marketer. But when I joined Uber, first year also I joined as a generalist, right? Like it was a launch person. So the idea was to just go and launch cities. But my leaders at Uber saw that my inclination towards growth, the strategies that I was applying on growth to the cities that I launched were working, and they saw that I was really good at it. So they recommended me, yeah, why don't you move into a growth role completely? And when it came from them, and I didn't enjoy a lot in operations, but I enjoyed a lot in marketing growth, coming up with ideas, trying to growth hack and all that. They basically said, yeah, this is the great way. And I kind of transitioned. And from there, that's how I got into growth. Like, but at Uber, it was a fun ride because when I joined the company, chota for India, it was quite small. And when I left Uber in India, it was like a massive, massive business, right? It was its peak, right? So in that scale, I've done a bunch of things. And essentially my school has been Uber and then Klook, where I also led a team and we grew the business from $5 to $25 million. So I had this liberty of experimenting at someone else's cost, that is your company's cost. And most of the companies that I worked with were very good startups, like I told you, Uber and Klook. So they allowed that, and I thrived in that chaos, and that's how I picked up the skills. Yeah,
You were 23 when you joined Uber, right?
I was 21.
21. Wow, just out of school.
Matlab, I was running Crazy Heads for about 3 years then, and I was like bored of it. It was service business. I was not enjoying. I was making a ton of money for sure, but I was not enjoying it. Okay. Actually, then one of my friends was applying for Uber, and I said, okay, chalo, मैं भी apply करता हूँ, आता हूँ, just to give you company. right, happened so that I got a call, she didn't get a call, and all the calls were over Skype and the phone. So I said, "Chalo, theek hai, karke dekhte hain. Agar ho gaya to, I can tell my clients that I got a job at Uber, but I didn't take it." Right? It's a good, nice hook to have. But I enjoyed the process of Uber interviews, and they gave a good offer, and they said, "Okay, maybe let me give it a try for 6 months." My company was still on, right? I made someone else the CEO and moved out. In 6 months, I felt that, boss, this is where I want to be. This is what I enjoy. So I doubled down and ended up spending 4.5 years there.
Awesome. And at what point in your journey that you started helping other startups?
I think this happened right from my college, if you think about it, right? Initially, I always had this thing here, logon ko help karna hai. That was my playground to learn, right?
Yeah.
Before this interview, we were just talking about how I love SaaS businesses. And that happened also because someone reached out, and I tried to
Yeah.
learn about it and applied the stuff, right? So ever since I was 19, 20, I've been helping businesses and startups. But when I was 19, 20, I was helping very small companies, right? And then when I came into Uber and I spent a couple of years there, and again, I opened up saying that I'm happy to help. Better companies, funded companies started to come into the picture, right? So all throughout, when I was at Uber, I was helping Paytm and a few other companies getting go to market in our local markets, right? So I've done वैसे matlab, it's again been very accidental, but I've been doing that since I was like 20, right? Like in some form or fashion. And the quality of startups and companies just grew as I got more and more experience and better credibility.
Got it. And today you are what, 30?
Not yet, man. Don't like. I don't want to get there, but I'm not 30 yet, so there's some time for that.
Okay. Coming on to growth. Till now, in the market, the growth has been about running Google ads, running Facebook ads. Why have been it's been difficult for people to build organic channels of growth? And what has been your experience building them?
Yeah, I mean, see, it totally depends on the kind of businesses you are, right? If you're a very, very consumer focused business like a Swiggy, Zomato, Uber, Growth School for that matter, right? It's very hard to build an organic channel which is going to give you growth. So I keep saying this. A lot of people will disagree with me. A lot of investors will also disagree with me on this, saying that no matter how build a organic lever you build, right? Unless you have true PMF. Like when I say true PMF, I don't mean यार great retention numbers and all, वो formula वाला PMF नहीं बोल रहा हूँ. For me, true retention is if I shut my product down today, will 25 people line out outside of my office saying that please turn it on again. That is true PMF. That has happened for, if a Flipkart or Amazon goes away, we are screwed,
Yeah.
right? If a big basket goes away, we are screwed. If a Uber goes away, we are screwed. If a Swiggy goes away, we are screwed, right? That according to me is true PMF, right? Or if let's say a Zerodha or a Upstocks or something goes away, we are screwed if you want to invest, right? That is according to me is true PMF. Unless that happens, I don't think organic kicks into at the scale that it has to, right? Till then, it always has to be engineered organic. Engineered organic is you tapping into other people's network. Yes, you can create YouTube channels, you can create bigger Instagram accounts, you can build a massive email newsletter, all that. But as a startup, you want to grow at some speed, right? And that speed matching up with organic, except for very few businesses, for example, physics wala kinds, right? Which is very, very student driven and सारा लोग YouTube में time spend करते हैं. It is very hard to build an organic channel. But with that being said, I think as an early stage founder, and also before I go back, right? I think today, according to me, if you ask me, most of consumer brands will succeed if they're able to crack Facebook and Google and LinkedIn ads better than others, right? Everybody is running Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn ads, right? Everybody is YouTube and everything. But how can you be different? What is that you find? In fact, we have gone so deep into this that we have built micro products inside of this, which also optimizes a lot of things for us, which cost saves us money, right? So you have to be very smart about it. That is one. Please figure out, unless you're a SaaS and stuff, which is a different story, content marketing and all those will kick in, right? Because the number of businesses or the number of clients you cater to in your life will be 100,000, let's say, right? But in a consumer side business, you want millions and millions of people to use your product, right? In that case, you have to make both work. But in organic, I feel you should start with the easiest thing to do. If you ask me, is personal branding of founders and the founding team. That has worked phenomenally well for us. And I keep saying this to every founder that I meet. If you have an intent to build something or you are building something, please spend some level of time building your personal brand, right? It extremely is very important, right? Because that gives you the first set of, in your 0 to 1 it plays a very important role. After that it might not help a lot, but 0 to 1 it will help. And you've seen likes of Kunal Shand also leveraging this, right? When free charge happened, maybe 10,000 people knew who Kunal Shah was, right? Now cred, everybody knows who Kunal Shah is. My
Yeah.
father knows who Kunal Shah is. That is the power of personal branding, right? and there's a direct correlation with the scale of the brand. And other things that we also fail to do, I think, which we should have done some time before, but again, as a lean business that we were trying to build initially, we couldn't do it, is focusing on investing in SEO from day zero, right? Again, there are things that we have not done and we would ideally want to do, and we have started the work right now. But if you're somehow able to focus on SEO from day zero, it will give you compounding benefits out of it, right? Things like YouTube and all will always help, but the production cost is extremely high for a startup to be able to pull this off, and it won't fit into every business as well, right? So I would say personal branding, double down on that. Two is in terms of whatever you can do with SEO, which is long term. Three is how can you build engineered organic marketing. For us, engineered organic marketing is how can we leverage every month. We have around 10,000 people plus who pay for our products, and there are more than 20,000 people who come in for free to do a bunch of webinars and all that. How can we leverage these 25,000 people on a monthly basis, tap into their network to drive organic growth, right? How can you engineer it? What can you do there? So in workshops and all, we have done stuff like, hey, you know what, go ahead and comment here, or go ahead and drop a post. You want some resources, drop a review on your social media. So every month we have more than 10,000 posts coming on LinkedIn and Twitter together, which drives us about 20%, 25% of lift organically, which also helps our overall acquisition cost, right? So this is engineered organic marketing according to me. This is more of other people network or OPN, right? So these are stuff that you can do. And one other thing that I feel a lot of people kind of miss out on, again, doubling down on OPN only, other people network only, is partnerships, right? For me, podcasts are a great way to kind of reach out to newer audiences, which I have not. For me, events have been a very interesting place to go and do it. Partnerships with other brands has been also very, very interesting. For Web3, we kind of unlocked a massive 80,000 network of people in like a month's time because of other people network hacks again, right? So, yeah, but try to find a
Go-
balance is usually my advice.
So before officially starting Growth School, you built your own courses, right? I remember one
Yeah.
course which was how to build your audience on LinkedIn, right? So it was kind of like you're trying to get product market fit whether Growth School would work or not.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I mean, to say a story, right? Saying that
Yeah,
यार पहले मैंने वो figure out किया उसके बाद ये किया would be a great story to say, but that's not the reality.
yeah,
The reality is I have loved teaching all my life. I've been speaking about education since I was 20. I had a very, very keen interest in this space. I thought it is broken to a very next level, and it's also very impartial. Education has been very impartial. It fits very well for the top 0.2, 0.3, 0.5%. For rest of them, it has been very impartial, irrespective of the skill set and everything that they own, right? So I've always been very, very vocal about it. And also in terms of teaching, workshops are not something new that I'm doing. I've been doing workshops since I was 18. I used to do them offline. I've always taught what I've been learning at that point of time. I've trained more than 20,000 people offline in ethical hacking, web development, branding, acquisition, and all that stuff when I was in college in itself, right? But as I grew, got into Uber, I didn't have the time to do offline anymore. I did my first course when I was in Mexico City. There was 2 days of rain happening. I had about 15,000 followers. I knew I couldn't go out. I just posted a post on LinkedIn saying, would anybody be interested to pay if I created a small Instagram course on how I got to 15,000 followers? And some 300 people said yes. And I rolled out a prepayment link of $10, and I got about 100 people to pay $10 without before even I created course, right? So I knew people were willing to pay to an extent, but I didn't know Indians will pay. There were a lot of international people who ended up paying for that. I made about $15,000 for the Instagram online course. This is when I was still with Uber. This was about 2017, 18ish, right? And then I launched the LinkedIn course because a lot of people said by then I had crossed 50,000 followers on LinkedIn and nobody knew how to do it. And I said, people asked me to do it. So I did it just as a side hustle for me, right? Not as something. But when COVID happened, when LinkedIn workshop I launched focused on India only, that scaled like crazy. And when that happened, I started going asking questions, saying, why is this workshop working very well? Well, there are so much of content on LinkedIn already available in India. And why were Indians paying 500 rupees for a simple workshop? I didn't understand it because my perception was people won't pay. So that's when I got to know, yeah, people want to learn from people who they want to become. Like a lot of dots got connected saying that we don't have access to great education. Curriculums are outdated. I saw a lot of agencies who were teaching software engineering, design, marketing, forget about college, right? Also offline, who are random people who didn't know crap, who had not done anything around it. So I said, how can I make this happen? How can I fix this problem? And that's what led to eventually Growth School, where I got a few friends of mine. One guy at Amazon who was a product designer, senior product designer. One guy who was a product designer at Swiggy, Sapta and Anudeep. I tried to convince them to do a program. I got a couple of friends who were my friends who were marketers. I got them to do performance marketing. I did a no code program. I just tapped into my close network and tested it out. Right. And they didn't have an audience. They didn't have anything. But the thesis was people want to learn from people who they want to become. That was the bigger thesis. Right. And that kind of worked out. And that is when I got like an early PMF. Yeah, nahi, people will pay. There is a massive gap here. We haven't got to a stage where people realize the fact that degrees are useless, right? We haven't got to that stage yet. People still buy degrees on the internet today, right? We haven't got to the stage, but it's getting better. People truly want to upskill and grow, right? People want to invest money, and that was my early PMF, right? And all this that took us about 7-8 months made us feel that okay, there is something here, and we should double down on this for sure. And that's what led to Growth School, actually.
So you had always a founder market fit towards growth school because you were always
Yeah,
teaching.
that is there.
And the second thing is you loved helping companies grow,
Yeah.
right? So both of things fell into place. And once you
Yes.
could tap into your network of, let's say, the 10-15 people that you mentioned, then you could think that this could scale across. If you
Yep.
could bring like hundreds of thousands of mentors, would people
Correct.
like to become? Do you have a course by Kunal Shah by any chance?
Not yet, man. I've roped in him as an angel, so one day I'll probably convince him to do one as well. Fingers crossed. When we bring on people like Kunal and all, we can only ask one favor to them,
Yeah.
right? I'm holding that favor back to get to a position where I can actually ask him to do that.
Awesome. Can you describe, before even raising your first round of funding, you went from 0 to 1 million in annual revenues within 1 year?
Yeah.
How you went through the?
I'll tell you a list of things that we did. I think I would like to believe that we did a lot of things very differently. Also, there was this steroid effect because of COVID as well, right? If it was non-COVID, we probably would have done half of it, right? I'm being very, very frank and
Yeah.
upfront, right? But here's what we did, right? Like initially when we were trying to do this, हम लोग का हुआ क्या? Like we realized I want to do this. We were a very small team, ठीक है? Because it was bootstrapped. I was very clear I didn't want to raise money early on because one thing I was very sure कि यार, I knew that the moment I raise money, I have to make it work and I'm stuck to this for the next 10, 15, 20 years, right? And second thing is I am not a fan of spending someone else's money, right? Even today, for example, there's an anniversary of Growth School coming up. We are thinking 10 times before we could get an artist to play who would cost like a lakh or two, right? And eventually got to the point saying that नहीं यार किसी को लेके नहीं आया, मैं खुद sponsor करूंगा. So I'm very, very finicky about spending someone else's money, right? So I don't enjoy doing it. So I said यार पहले I'll double down with my own money and to figure out देखते हैं क्या होगा. So it was bootstrapped. So I put my own savings and took a small loan from my brother, put like a CR into this business to
Yeah.
start this. And when you're doing this, you're a very small team, right? Teams is expensive. So I had a team of 2 full-time people and 3 interns, but very smart people.
Yeah.
All of them work full-time today for Growth School, right? That was the team. And in that, I know engineering and all this will be expensive. Building branding and logo and website and all this will be expensive. So the way we went about it is how can we prove our thesis with as lean approach as possible? So first thing we decided is, boss, brand name, van name, kuch mat bolo, stealth mein rakho. So I've never announced Growth School. It was on stealth for good 7 months, right? Two, what should be the name of the brand? Didn't want to put my brain into it saying kya dekhna chahiye. But incidentally, I had this domain growthschool.io. So I said, chalo, domain name hai, yahi use karte hain. So we made it Growth School. We didn't want to spend money on logo. Went to free pick and downloaded a picture with an arrow. And we thought, okay, this resembles it. We didn't want to spend time on website. Built a very simple website on Webflow. One page, all the 5 programs in tabs. That's it. No fancy stuff, right? Zero posts on social media because we realize social media is great, but there is time for it. For validation, we don't need all this, right? And focus shrewdly on getting a early PMF, right? Early PMF, not a proper PMF. Early traction is probably a better word. Are there people who are interested in offering like this? Are there people who are willing to pay for this? And how much are they willing to pay for this? And what do they expect out of this? These are the things that we had to figure out, right? And we kept doing that to the point here. I also wanted to figure out, can this business be sustainable? Because here's the problem, right? With biggest of the edtechs, the problem that I've seen is CAC, acquisition cost is through the roof. We have to make it work on performance only because that's the only way to scale today, sadly, until you get true PMF. And for that to happen, it'll take time. So will performance make sense at the price point that we offer it? Back in the day, it used to be like 10,000, 15,000 rupees on a higher level, while other edtechs were at like 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs. Will we be acquire people and build a sustainable, profitable business at any point of time? So these were a few things that I thought about. And we kept doing it one after another, right? We kept experimenting, we kept making changes, we kept breaking things. But the back end also, engineering, there was no engineering. We built on top of no code tools, right? Webflow, Bubble, and WordPress. These are the three things with Zapier and all that. I knew a little bit of no code, so that helped. We built a product on top of it and we launched.
Dear listeners, before we dive further into the podcast, I would like to welcome Prashant Ganti, Head of Product Management at Zoho Payroll and Zoho Books. Prashant, Zoho products are an interconnected ecosystem that solves problems across all functions of a business. How is Zoho Payroll solving problems beyond payroll?
Thanks, Siddharth. That's a very good question and comes to the heart of Zoho. So we, from the very beginning, had decided we are not going to be a single product company. So, and we also believe that the systems have to be deeply integrated. Data should not be imprisoned within one system. Data has to flow across multiple systems. And payroll, right, by its very virtue, straddles both HR and finance, two extremely critical departments that are important for the functioning of the organization, right? So we provide bidirectional data synchronization between our HR suite of products as well as the finance suite. From the upstream, when employee joins, right, his details automatically flow to the payroll system. And when the payroll processing is done, right, it automatically flows to the accounting system. So it helps with end-to-end automation. It helps the HR department. It helps the finance department. And furthermore, this going forward will flow into the analytics also. So there's complete end-to-end bidirectional data synchronization, and this helps with everything. So basically, business spend less time in any of the administrative tasks and can do more value at work.
Thank you, Prashant. Dear listeners, you will find more about Zoho Payroll in the show notes. Now, let's further continue with the podcast.
And slowly, it picked up, like I said, right? In 8 months, we got to a point where over the end of the year, we would have hit $1 million in revenue, almost $1 million, if not exactly $1 million, right? So that's what happened with us. So we were lean, shrewd, very, very shrewd, and very clear that if there is no profitable business here at any point of time, if I cannot turn on a switch and make it profitable, I don't want to build that business. I don't want to rely on external funding for life, right? And we ticked all those boxes and we said, okay, this is great. Now is the time to raise. So hence we went on to raise money. Yeah.
And how was the team size before you went to raise the money?
We were about 12 to 15 people, 12 odd people actually. Half interns, half full-time people. But yeah, it was quite small.
And you were charging for the courses from day one?
Oh, we have never. So in fact, funnily, we started to do free webinars recently because we realized, yaar, base ko badhana padega for us to scale. One thing, yaar, like that we are very shrewd about, I'll tell you, this was within the ethos of Growth School, is that every time we acquire a customer, we have to break even or recover the CAC in the first purchase. And my internal target is CAC to AOV of the first purchase to be a ratio of 3, right? AOV to CAC, I mean, right? Not LTV to CAC. I want to do AOV to CAC at 3, right? That's a very, very important metric that we are working towards, right? So everything that we do even today is profitable at its own level, at least net inflows positive at its own level.
Initially, before the funding, how many courses had you launched? And today, how many courses are there on the Growth School?
It's not been a lot of time. It's been like 7 months since we raised. So back in the day, we had, I think we experimented a lot. So total number of courses that we launched will be around 12-ish. But we experimented stuff like poetry, script writing to see what works, what doesn't, right? So agar wo sabko nikal dunga, seriously 6-7 hum log launch kiye the. They still are there today. And on top of that, we have launched around 10 odd more today.
Got it. And they're all live courses.
Yeah, the way we function is it's a mix of live plus record. We have our own models of high engagement with low effort from the mentors as well. So here's the thing, right? The kind of mentors that we work with are people who are extremely busy.
Yeah.
right? Like the head of brand marketing of Dunzo teaches brand marketing at Growth School. The head of growth strategy of Facebook teaches management consulting at Growth School. These people are very, very busy, right? But we also want great experience for learners. So we have figured out a model using tech and operational excellence, is what I would like to say, with which we are able to run cohorts with on-demand content plus live sessions plus guest sessions together, where it is very, very engaging. You spend a lot of time, learn a lot with low engagement from the main mentor overall.
And today, how many courses exist?
So here's the thing: we have about full-fledged courses, which we called intensive programs. Are about 15 or 16. I don't exactly remember. Few we stop, few we add, and what we realize is every course has its own PMF as well. Every topic has its own PMF as well, right? So few scale up, few don't scale up. So we shut them down and we launch new. We're figuring out what are going to be our top 100 programs, because that is what. So 100 programs, each doing $1 million in revenue is $100 million, which will lead to $1 billion business. That is our basic math, putting it out there, right? So how can we find 100 topics which will do at least $1 million to start with in revenue per year, right? So we are finding those. We are about 12 or 13 right now. Not doing $1 million yet per program. I think that's going to happen as we scale slowly, right? But 12, 13, 15-ish is what we have today. But we have a lot of crash courses. So what we realize is these are intensive programs which will go on for 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks. But what we also realized is a lot of people are not sure if they want to learn that topic, but they're interested. So we create something called as crash courses, which is like the LinkedIn 5-day workshop, right? Which is very inexpensive, 500, 600 rupees or 1,000 rupees sometimes. And those we have around 35. And that will scale to like 300, 400 over the course of time. Because those are great for people who can quickly learn. For example, how can you be a great podcaster, right? Varun Dugirala teaches that today at
Yeah.
Growth School, right? I hope you know Varun Dugi,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I've hosted with
Advertising
him.
is dead.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, he's an amazing guy, right? Advertising is dead. So he teaches podcasting. Podcasting doesn't have to be a 16-week program,
Yeah.
right? It could be a quick 3-week program where they can quickly learn. And a lot of people should 3 hours of right guidance with right playbooks will be enough for them, right? Those topics don't have to be intensive, but they are great topics to have. Let's say I'll come up with random one more idea, right? How can you leverage Twitter to get jobs? It doesn't have to be a long program. It could be a 3-hour nice session on point, and they'll get to learn a lot. So building 200, 300 properties like that, which will also act as top of funnel for us, which will also act as acquisition for us. And here is where we'll do about 12,000 people today, right? And then a bunch of people eventually take up the intensive programs as well, and eventually making us a decent business. That's how we go about it. And we also have one more layer of on demand these days, right? Few topics which we realize cannot get 500 people, 300 people per month, but can only get 50, 60 people per month. In that, we cannot really do live and all that. So we make it on demand so that at least they have access to content and learn from the great people. So one thing that is common across the board is पढ़ा कौन रहा है, कैसे पढ़ रहे हैं, and किसके साथ पढ़ रहे हैं, right? 3 things: network, teacher, curriculum. Teacher is always the best. People are practitioners who are doing what you want to do tomorrow, right? Curriculum follows a Pilato's principle, 80-20. Do things that you do 80% of the times, but only has 20% of it. So learn that 20% only. And 3 is the network. Everything that we do is community driven, so that you meet people, you meet new people. And with COVID going away, we are trying to figure out models on how can we get people to meet each other more often than not, right? Recently, we did a meetup at Hyderabad with 300 people of our learners, paid learners, who came in to meet each other. So it's quite cool.
And I believe the intensive courses would be priced between like 5,000 to 10,000.
Yeah, it goes up to like 25, 30,000. The way we find balance is depending on the mentor. If the mentor wants to do very small set of code, let's say he says, मुझे 30-40 लोग का ही करना है, usually the price goes up. And also the seniority of the mentor and the topic. But something that has to scale. Someone who says, yeah, I don't care about money, right? I want to teach as many people as we can. There we reduce the price to the extent that it will fit in.
And how did the first round between Sequoia, Owl, and 80 plus angels happen?
Yeah, again, right, we try to growth hack this process in some sorts of fashion, frankly. Again, you have come through that cycle, so you'll know non-IITN, non-AM guy, non-tech guy, solo founder are all red flags for investors, right?
Yeah.
And on top of that, I was a small creator also, and that also is a red
Yeah.
flag these days, right? A bunch of red flags. But the way I went about it is, like I said, I was very clear कि यार मुझे traction बनाना है, उसके बाद पैसे उठाना है. So one thing that was working for me, I had very strong traction as a bootstrap business, which was profitable at that point of time. Abhi zyada profitable nahi hai hum log. We are net inflow positive, but there are other costs that keep climbing up. But we're very healthy as a business even today. As a profitable business, I went out and I said, boss, first thing, I didn't know how to make a pitch deck. Didn't have the world of time to figure out how to do it. So we created a Notion doc, right? Thought about what all questions that investors might ask. Spoke with very good friends like Ashish Tulsian and all, right? Like you mentioned, a bunch of investors also, like Abhishek Nag, who was a BD at Netflix. I met him at Uber. Arjun Vaidya, who's a very good friend, D2C founder, sold his company for 100 crores. I had friends like Siddharth Ram and, like Bharat, who had worked at Axel, Bloom and all. So I had a few networks. I leveraged them to understand what should I do quickly. And I built a simple Notion doc. उसके बाद मैंने किया क्या, मुझे फटाफट उठाना था. So my plan was, because we were a very small team, I didn't want my fundraising journey to impact my business. So what we said is, yeah, let's give ourselves 4 weeks. We'll go out there, try to raise money. If it doesn't happen, we'll come back and build business and go back 1 year later or 6 months later, because we were profitable and there was a way to go about it, right? So the way we went about it, I did some scraping on Crunchbase and stuff, and made a list of funds that are available, list of angels that are available. Kind of segregated them into 3 different buckets. One that I would definitely not want to raise money. One, I would be okay to raise money. One, I would love to raise money from. Went out and pitched people who I would definitely not raise money from. Got questions that they might ask, because I knew every question that an investor would ask will be a frequently asked question. 3-4 करने के बाद मेरे पास प्लेबुक बन गया था. उसके बाद बीच वालों के पास गया मैं. Would love to raise money actually. The one in the center, and there was the third bucket, which was like a dream bucket. Right? यार इनसे उठा लिया तो बस, this is ultimate. Right? So second bucket, I went, got my first term sheet. This happened in like 2 weeks, right? In a span of 2 weeks. And then, I reached out to the third bucket, and that's when Sequoia happened. Right? Sequoia, it was a very interesting thing. Pratik was connected. He was following us saying, "Kya kar rahe ho?" I told him I already had a term sheet. So he quickly set up something, and I got a term sheet from Sequoia in like 2 days. I don't know who else must have gotten like 1 or 2 days from Sequoia. Direct, we had an IC. I'll tell you, here's a funny story. I've never spoken about this. Weirdly enough, right? मैं ये बोलता रहता हूँ सबको. I keep going and saying this, that there is no difference. You are worth it. All of us undervalue ourselves. All of us do, right? Most of us, at least not all of us, most of us do, right? I always thought यार Sequoia से उठाना possible ही नहीं होगा. आउल से उठाना पॉसिबल ही नहीं होगा. ये बहुत बड़े फंड से. वी ऑलवेज अंडरवैल्यू व्हाट वी डू, राइट? हम तो जो कर रहे हैं शायद और भी कोई कर सकते हैं. आई केप्ट अंडरवैल्यूइंग आवरसेल्व्स. सो आई नेवर रियली like wanted to raise from top funds, because I thought यार वहां से कैसे होगा ही नहीं यार. They want like absolute outliers and have so many red flags on top of it. I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. When Pratik, who was then there with Sequoia, when he reached out to me, I said, "यार time pass है, कुछ नहीं होने वाला है." But when I had a term sheet and he reached out to me saying that, "Bro, like क्या है scene? पैसे उठा रहा है ना? क्या बात करते हैं?" I said, "Yeah, sure, but मेरे पास term sheet आ चुका है." Then he said, "No. Like then I realized even brands like Sequoia and all, like a bunch of people had already taken growth school programs. They already knew what we were doing, so I didn't even have to explain them. And this happened with a lot of funds, right? Because they are so actively looking out, right, to invest in funds. So when this happened, we directly had an IC at 10 in the night. Next day, I had a term sheet.
And how did Owl happen?
Today is 3rd September as we are shooting this.
Yeah.
5th September is my anniversary. Okay.
Yeah.
So I told you, right, we were on stealth for about 6-7 months.
Yeah.
On 5th September, which was Teachers Day, I made a post on how we built Growth School as a bootstrap business, a Twitter thread, which blew up. It got a few million views, right?
Yeah.
When that blew up, Owl got to know about us. By then, Sequoia, actually 4th September, tomorrow, which is also my birthday, is when I got a term sheet from Sequoia, right? So I had a term sheet on 4th September. 5th September, I made this post and it blew up, and we got traction from big people like Tanmay Bhatt, and all these people started to retweet saying that this is what future of education looks like. And that was quite a pleasant thing, right? And uske baad Owl got to know, and like a bunch of other international funds got to know, like Tiger, Owl, and all these people, and they started to reach out. But I realized Owl is a very interesting fund because they're edtech focused, they're global. So they reached out, and we said, okay, fine. I mean, they also kind of closed in like 1 or 2 meetings, and they also came on board, and that was amazing. So I got like all the dream funds that I put on the right bucket kind of came on board, and that was like amazing. I think I feel we are very lucky to have some amazing partners in our place. And then angels, thoda aggressive hai. I know 80 angels was not usual back in the day and not even now, right? But I was initially from day zero, no matter who I raised from, I was very clear that I wanted to pick money from strategic angels, people who will add value. I'm a solo founder. I don't understand tech. I don't understand a lot of things. I need help there. And I realized having great founders, great operators is a great way to fix that problem. Two is I always wanted great mentors to kind of come and teach. Like, hopefully one day Kunal Shah and Tanmay Bhatt as well, two like head of brand of Dunzo, head of operations of Hotstar, operators who are extremely good at what they do. They're pure 0.01% top, right? If we can get them as investors, if we can get them to put some money of theirs, there's always a chance that we can get them as mentors. If they ever want to teach, we will be the first place to go, right? That was second strategic. Third is also like I wanted access to international funds, and few people were truly aspirational. Like I'm a big fanboy of Kunal, I'm a big fanboy of Ritesh Agarwal, big fanboy of Nikhil Kamath. So you won't see usual angels on my list, right? People who usually invest, because I was very strategic about it, but found a few people who I really look up to. Those guys came in. Tanmay Bhatt came in because he was a very good friend. I had massive level of respect for him on what he's been able to do. And that is how we planned it. Used cold emailing, used scraping, used automation. You did a lot of that stuff to be able to reach out to all these people and close them. It took me a couple of months to do it, but that process started when I started the fundraising journey. It obviously became much easier with Sequoia and all coming into the picture.
And how did your playbook to scale change after you had the 5 million in funding?
Yeah, here's the interesting thing, right? A lot of people think you raise money to kind of blitzscale, right? That was not my intent. I was very clear with the investors as well. I don't want to blitzscale. I'm being very frank, because if I blitzscale, things will break. I would like to believe that I'm a very, क्या बोलते हैं, as a founder and also as a founding team, I'm a very self-aware guy, right? Maybe because of Uber and Klook, I saw what broke. I saw where it broke, right? My intent for this money was to build a team so that we can build a great product, which we didn't have. Like I said, there were zero engineers, right? Funnily enough, even today, it has been 6 months since we built a tech team. Dheere dheere. Even today, we are no code. We are slowly transitioning out. In 2 months, we'll be into our product, right? We had built such a complex product with no code, and there's so many things that needed to be operated so that we can scale this business to thousands of mentors, right? It with this setup, it was not possible. Tech and product was a very important investment that I wanted to make. Two is there were a bunch of experiments that needed to be performed, right? What again, I mean, frankly, putting it out there, I had a very clear sight of how to get to 10, 15, 20 mil kind of a business, but I didn't have an idea on how to get to 100 mil. To be very frank, still I'm not sure how to get to 100 mil, right? And I was very clear with the investors as well. I will get there, but I've not figured it out. I don't have the answers. And this was one of my other process, right? Thought process. कि यार inflection point तो ये business के लिए आया नहीं है. I'm self aware. 2 साल में $1 billion business नहीं बनेगा, मुझे वो पता है. बिकॉज अभी भी लोग डिग्रीज के ऊपर डिपेंड करते हैं. अभी भी लोग सोचते हैं कॉलेज जाने से गोइंग टू रैंडम कॉलेज इज बेटर देन अ बूट कैंप, विच इन रियलिटी इज नॉट ट्रू, right? But that inflection has not been achieved, and it'll take us a few years to get there, right? Where the always on learning will kind of grow, right? With this time, I wanted to figure out a lot of things, and that's why I raised money. So funnily, there is nothing different in terms of spending money that I did when I was a bootstrap business to now. We still, even today, operate like a bootstrap business. Frankly, there is some money that we burn today, and that is majorly because of a team that is designed to build our future, which is the tech product. Like I said, right before this, also, we're building a lot of internal tools which will make our life easy, which will help us to scale, which are not created today. It doesn't exist. And there are a lot of tools that we have to create to make things work as community and as outreach platforms on hacky platforms like WhatsApp, right? Those are the things that we're focused on right now. Because as we figure out, as we build 0 to 1, I still believe that we are 0 to 1. As we're going on 0 to 1, there are a lot of things that has to be figured out. And this is the money that will ensure us and make us get where we want to. And uske baad blitzscaling karenge. I don't think we have got to a stage where we should blitzscale. So playbook of growth has not changed. Long answer short.
Any metrics that you can share, right? In 1 year, you were able to go from 0 to 1. What is your internal goal to reach from the first year to the second year?
Basically, by end of next year, we want to grow 5x. right? And next year we'll probably try to slightly compound on top of it. There are some internal metrics that we are working towards, something that I can't speak about right now, but the focus has been how can we become 5x in a year at least. So we are growing, like on a very steady stage without actually burning a lot of money. But also the hope is that in 1 year, even today we are in a position where I can turn on a switch and I can be profitable. But in 1 year, I want to be in a stage where very, 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 very healthy as a business, growing at 5x, but also at a point that we are profitable at any day. Like we're not burning like shit ton of money, right? Like spending 10 rupees to make 1 rupee, or even spending 2 rupees to make 1 rupee. I don't want to be there, right? So that is the mode of growth that we are trying to eye for.
So even if you are not able to raise, let's say, next round of funding, or even if you don't want to raise the next round of funding, you should be comfortable.
Funnily enough, if you ask me, I would not want to raise one more round,
Okay.
right? But I want to build a big business. I mean, if I had no intent to build a big business, I would have kept it bootstrapped, made nice money into my bank account every year,
Yeah.
right? More than any job can ever pay, right?
Yeah.
And I can do a lot of things on top of it. But I genuinely want to build a big business. I genuinely want to bring this change in education. More than business, to be very frank, I want to bring this change. That inflection has to happen, right? In terms of people accepting the fact that if you're not in an IIT, if you're not in an IIM, if you're not in a Stanford, if you're not in a Harvard, you're good enough. You can still learn great stuff. Fundamentally fix education in a way that becomes outcome driven, becomes short, so that you can crack things that you want to, without actually focusing too much on, am I getting a degree, because they're useless anyways, right? Build on proof of work, build on things where you are doing rather than just learning. Learn stuff that matters. I feel this is truly the future of education, at least in the category that I live in, right? Which is upskilling. And I feel in that space, it's a massive impact business of some sorts that will need some level of help for us to get there. Hence, I raised one more round. So yeah, if I don't have to raise one more, I'll probably not raise, right? I would love to not raise, frankly. All the investors looking at this will be like, but that's actually how I fundamentally, and I've been very clear about this as well.
You said you're still like little away from product market fit. So in your mind, what is product market fit for Growth School?
Yeah, I kind of touch based on this, right? Like PMF, true PMF for me is, if product school goes away, people are like, मैं अभी कहाँ से जाके सीखूं? That is true PMF. Yeah, retention metrics and all is great, but for, according to me, true PMF is people screaming at you if you shut your product down, and that is the stage that I want to get to. If you think about it, in some sorts, in edtech, in our space, I feel one product which has got PMF is Udemy. Though it's not a massive business, if you think about it, I mean, I think it's about $1.5 to $2 billion right now. It took it a lot of time to get there, but that's a true PMF business because it has become a synonym, right? अगर तुमको कुछ सीखना है, the first place that most of the people think about is यार Udemy मिल जाएगा, right? So that is also actually very good benchmark for PMF. But I would say, how do I put it right? A good business, I would say early PMF, according to me, is good retention numbers, good, decent repeats, because this is not a business that will have high repeats, but decent repeats, very good referral, because that's also a sign of very good PMF. I mean, we have internal metrics for that. Can't really talk because it depends business on business, right? But referrals is a very good important metric, right? And more importantly, ये सब करके वो लोग क्या कर पा रहे हैं एक साल में, right? What is the outcome that we are able to drive, soft or hard outcome, right? Right now we have thousands of stories. Like as I go into the events, right? The reason why I say we have got to this early PMF is because there are people who have spent been like 7-8 months since they finished the program, and they're seeing the change. For example, day before yesterday, I was in a meetup. We did a growth school meetup in Hyderabad. There was this lady, Ramya, who was pregnant, came to that event in the peak of her pregnancy with her mother-in-law just to say thank you, because from nowhere she has got to a point where she's making 50 lakhs a year right now in 1 year because of growth school, not because of one program, because of multiple programs that she took, fixed her buckets, from an employee became an employer, started a startup, running a bootstrap business, making 50 lakhs. This is life changing, right? Absolutely life changing. Hundreds and hundreds of people have got jobs after paying a 20,000 rupee program. Hundreds, probably thousands, if not hundreds, right? We know at least 300-400 stories of people who have come out and told us that yaar humko job mil gaya hai, thank you so much, right? That is also a great validator for us. Like there was one more story, right? Like there was this lady, we had a Kolkata meetup. There was this one more lady again who came to me, Vaibhav, I was making 20,000 rupees for 5 years straight in Kolkata. I was not growing. But because I was married and all, I never cared. But inside of me, I wanted to grow. Few programs at Growth School. Now I have a full-time job as a digital marketer, making over 1 lakh per month. Life changing in just a year. This transition happening. People jumping from 4 lakhs to like 20 lakh CTCs. Right? I'll tell you the reason why they were not able to do this is not because हमने ऐसे कुछ out of the world पढ़ा दिया कि उनका life बदल गया. Right? That is not true. We just got them the right content and the right community, which made them confident that they're better or good enough with most of the people. Yeah, there is this thing. I mean, which college did you study in?
Triple IT Gwalior, at Indian Institute of Information Technology, Gwalior.
Okay, you have gone to a very good college, right? I come from a very regular college. I come from a college called Geetam University. I'll tell you this. I have told this story before as well. In my college, first year of engineering, people, when the teacher asked, what do you want to be at 4 years from now? 80% of the college said, I want to get a job in TCS, Wipro, Accenture. That was their goal, which is quite sad, right? And this is what happens. Imagine in a classroom of 100 people who are saying, my goal is TCS, Wipro, and Accenture. When you say that I want to get into a Google, people will turn and laugh at you. Forget about everything else.
They'll kill your ambitions.
Yeah, people will ridicule your ambitions, and that happens. And this is the problem with not having the right community around you. You are good enough. You believe in yourself. Just because people around you are not good enough, a lot of people are actually good enough. They don't have the ambition that you do. You're being pulled down, and you feel maybe I'm not good enough, which is so sad, right? It's so sad. And this is what needs to be fixed fundamentally. And this is what a great community of learners who are passionate does. And all our teachers keep saying this. If you realize, most of the teachers that we got don't come from fancy backgrounds. So they kind of become an example saying, boss, tum kar sakte ho. And when they truly believe and they've learned, that is when this change will happen. I was also one of those, by the way. I also used to think, 4 साल रहने के बाद भाई तुम्हारा भी goals and aspirations crush हो जाता है. इनिशियली मैंने जब बोला यार मुझे स्टार्टअप करना है, लोग हंसने लगे, तू क्या करेगा स्टार्टअप, एग्जाम ही ठीक से क्लियर नहीं कर पाता है. I never got a CGPA, which is great. I always got 7 and all, right? You're not even a topper. What will you do? You're being crushed. You're being pushed down because of how the community is built, how the society is built. And I came from a decent college, not from a bad college. You know what I mean? A college which has a 100% placement record.
Yeah.
So it's a decent college according to me. Quite sad, man. This is what makes me feel really bad. And this is what also kind of pushes me to do things. I want to bring these stories out, tell people, enable these people, let people meet. भाई जानो कि यार बहुत लोग तेरे जैसे हैं जो बहुत कुछ कर सकते हैं, right? And and sorry, I got a little carried away, but this is what we truly believe in. This is what I'm truly passionate about.
So ultimately, at scale, right, what I imagine School to be is a better community for people who are ambitious, people who want to figure stuff out in life, people who want to learn in life.
Yeah.
And you are giving them tools to get better.
Yeah, simply put, right, we are trying to be Amazon of sorts, a marketplace, right? For people who want to teach, who are excellent. So you're always going to be curated marketplace, and learners all the world who want to learn from them together. And the real beauty of this is as they come together, people can cross-function, coordinate with each other and build stuff. So we started to take our first step towards that right now for the community bit that I'm talking about, right? We did a hackathon for only people who learned in the last few cohorts. There were 500 people who are people who have taken brand marketing, UX, product management, performance, growth, all these came together as team of 10s, like micro startups, were given a problem to solve, worked for 7 days to build a micro startup. This experience wouldn't have been possible. We're working with UX designers, brand marketers, product managers, performance marketers, engineers, no code people to build, ideate, build, solve a problem, and build an MVP in 7 days. We have 38 brilliant projects that have come out of the 7 days, bro. Something that will take my team only to build 30, 40 days to figure out. Very exciting things that can be done. We just have to enable them. And this is what we want to do at scale, right? Get thousands of great people to teach, get millions of learners to learn from them, and connect everybody with everybody. So you have an alumni right now. People have an alumni of 300,000. You have an alumni of 2 million, 3 million, 5 million people who are doers like you.
For you as a founder, right? I think it's all about prioritizing to do what is to achieve that vision. How do you split your time on a daily basis or on a weekly basis between being a founder, hiring enable for team, setting the vision, execution, and then being a creator yourself on building your
Yeah.
own brand?
Good question. You're hitting on the pain points again and again. But here's the thing, right? What I've decided, I'm a solo founder again, right?
Yeah.
So I'm the only guy who has to run everything. I have a great leadership team right now, great head of product, great head of eng, great head of business and stuff, but still a solo founder. So the way I do it is my weekends are the time, or my off days are the time when I create content, right? So it's getting crazier and crazier. So we have just got to a step where I've hired two people full time just to manage this. But essentially, that's how I split. When I'm at work, I'm purely focused at helping others. So if I go to my office, I don't even carry my laptop. There's a laptop in the office lying. If I open it, most of the days I don't even open my laptop. When I'm at work for around 9 hours a day, I go around. Usually, I go at around 11:30, 12, and I'm at office till like 9:30, 10 p.m. Right? We are a late starting office. People come by around 1 and they stay till like 10 p.m. Right? When I'm at office, I'm just dedicated to the team, right? Spending time with the team, avoid external calls and everything around it. So I'm trying to solve problems for them, be part of it, brainstorm with them. I'm accessible to everybody in the team. We're a 70-member team right now, accessible to everybody in the team. When I come back from office, that is when, for example, today we are doing the podcast, right? This is off my office hours, so I do it at home and then go back to office, right? Today thoda late ho gaya, but again I wake up a little earlier, get my board meetings or whatever podcasts or whatever things are done there, or my content creation time also starts after 9 p.m., 10 p.m., right? So at office, I'm focused at work. Outside of office, and 2 days off that I get every month is when I create content. And other 2 weekends, I'm teaching, which is also, a post office hours. So I'm a creator, I'm an educator, and I'm an entrepreneur, right? So yeah, that's how I jumble around. It's been painful, man. So I keep saying this. I've not fallen sick this often that I've fallen the last 6 months in my life. My body is also adapting to these changes, to the stress levels, to these changes of timings, to this crazy work hours. I always have been working crazy. I mean, Shantanu's post went viral, sadly,
Yeah.
the 18 hours thing. But I mean, if you ask me, there's nothing wrong with what he said. I've been working 16, 18 hours all my life, and that became part of my life as well. If you want to do more than others, you have to put in the effort, and that's what we're doing here. And most of my team is like me.
When was the last time you slept 7 to 8 hours?
यार वीकेंड्स में मिल जाता है मुझे संडेज जो होता है ना बिकॉज सी हियर्स वन गुड थिंग दैट हैज हैपेंड राइट बिकॉज आवर वर्क आवर स्टार्ट लेट राइट आई गेट गुड 6 hours स्लीप एवरी डे आई ट्राई टू मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स आई डू बिकॉज 2 बजे सोता हूँ मैं 2 बजे 3 बजे सोता हूँ और गुड 10 बजे ऐसे उठता हूँ so I'm getting my sleep or else I cannot operate as a person. You need doses of your own coffee and you need your doses of your melatonin strips to have a very good sleep in the night. You're biohacking everything possible on top of that. But yeah, that is one thing that I've thought because yeah, initially वो बहुत गंदा था. My sleep hours were also kind of screwed up. It impacted my health like crazy. So one thing that I'm trying to build up is this. Sleep I get. Vacation, off time I don't get yet. But I hope we'll get there soon.
What are the various processes that you have built in your life? So I'm not just talking about content creation. That also I want to know. But what are the other processes that you have built in your life right now?
Frankly, I'm not very sorted. I'm also learning in a lot of things. I'm not a very framework driven guy either. Okay. But there are few things that I do. Team management has become a very important thing for me. So basic things like we do something called as a monthly all hands, right? Actually, today is a monthly all hands, right? Where we tier the business in front of everybody so that there's absolute visibility, starting from revenue to ad spend to what went down to what went wrong. Everybody starting from someone in the sales team to support team to my office boy to the senior person, everybody has the same level of data, right? That has helped a lot overall in the team. Every week I have catch ups with all my leaders, right? And also catch ups with internal teams. So that way I'm on top of everything that's happening. So this has helped quite a lot as well. Three, not having a process helped also. That is being available for others. So at any point of time, anybody from the support team to sales team to leader can pull me into a meeting room if they can see me going around. So don't use laptop in the office has helped quite a lot. That also makes me terrible with emails. But again, right, whatever kind of works. And going forward slowly, we are trying to build frameworks on how can we use one day to shoot content for the next 30 days? So that I dedicate 15 hours of my time, but I'm sorted for the whole month. But that gives us a lot of traction. For content creation, we are like, how can we create content on the go? Because now we don't, isse pehle, for creating great content, you need mind space. If you have been following me on LinkedIn, you'll see my frequency has dropped like crazy recently, and that is because I don't have mind space right now. So trying to dedicate one day for content where the focus will be only on content, a small team helping me nudge, asking me questions. So there's a video team that follows me everywhere that I go right now, who just shoots, and that will convert into content, right? If you would have done this offline, you would have seen that team as well. But the basic frameworks, we are setting up OKRs. That has become quite important for a team to be very scalable. Usually whenever I said OKRs, a lot of people said, भाई इतना छोटा टीम है, तुमको क्या OKR जरूरत है? मैं बोला नहीं चाहिए. That is important for a team to scale. Usually growth stage teams kind of build those things up, right? But we are bringing consultants on board to make that scalable, right? Because how can we manually intervene within teams, micromanage them as less as possible, but they know what they have to achieve, they know what the goals are, so that we are available as a support system for them, for the team, rather than anything else. So few things like this. But again, right, I keep saying 6 mahine hi hua hai. Most of the team has been hired in the last 5 months. We are also learning. I'm also learning. Maybe next time we do after 2 years, I will have a much better answer to say, but I'm no Kunal Shah, bro.
So Kunal Shah also became Kunal Shah after an iterative process of 10 years, right? The
Yeah.
grueling journey of free charge is what
Yeah.
made him.
Absolutely. I mean, comes with experience as well, right? So
So thank you so much, Weber, for candidly sharing your life, your experiences about Grow School. So glad, and I learned so much from you through this podcast.
I'm humbled, man. I'm humbled. Thank you so much for bringing me on the show. I hope it helps a few people who watch this.
Oh, definitely. I think I learned a lot, and that's why I think, right, the 100x entrepreneur audience, our listeners would love to hear your journey.